Yeah. Shivalli ji, would you like to read? Shivalli?
Yeah, I can read.
Yeah, please. This one, just the section, the form of the psychic being, 1, 2, 3, 4. These four letters or letter snippets.
So we start from the
Yeah, the form of the psychic being.
form of the. Just a second, please.
No problem.
Formed souls enter only into formed organisms in the protoplasm, etc. It is only the spark of the divine that is there, not the formed soul. As there is in us a mind which does not see in form but is aware of and is there.
Can't hear you. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
I can't hear Shivalli.
Now, can you hear me?
Yeah, now please read from the beginning of the second letter.
Yeah. As there is in us a mind which does not see in form but is aware of, and there is at the same time a mental being which one can see in form. So there is a soul and a psychic being. The soul is the same always. The psychic being is what it develops in the evolution. The soul is not limited by any form, but the psychic being puts out a form for its expression, just as the mental, vital, and the subtle physical purushas do. That is to say, one can see, or another person can see one psychic being in such a and such a form. But this seeing is of two kinds. There is the standing characteristic form taken by this being in this life, and there are symbolic forms, such as when one sees the psychic as a newborn child in the lap of the mother. If the sadhak in question really saw his psychic in the form of a woman, it can only have been a constructed appearance expressing some quality or attitude of the psychic. Yes, the psychic being has a form, but that does not appear from the photo of a person, for the psychic has not always or usually a form closely resembling that of a physical body. It is sometimes even quite different. Looking at the photo with yogic vision, what is seen is not a form, but something of the consciousness that either is expressed in the body or comes through somehow. One perceives or feels it there through the photo.
Right. So thank you for reading. So far, we have been discussing the spark soul, the Jivatman, the psychic being, etc., and how they are our true being and how basically they should be in control of the mental, vital, physical, etc. More the psychological and the spiritual aspect. In this letters, something very interesting. The form of the psychic being itself. Proper understanding of this can give us, a concrete idea. The moment we say the word form, right? कि the psychic being is something very concrete. उसकी एक आकृति है, एक रूप है. Rupa is the best word for the English word form, right? So formed souls enter only into formed organisms. In the protoplasm, etc., it is only the spark of the divine that is there, not the formed soul. So, formed soul से क्या meaning है? That means it has become sufficiently individualized. It has taken its form. It has developed through whatever experiences, through whatever evolution, and it has taken a form basically. In the protoplasm, etc., enter only into formed organisms. Organism, he's saying. So that could mean even the animals.
Correct.
Like
Even plants also, Anmol Bhai, right?
that's not an organism. I mean, I would not call it an organism because I mean, organism word is used only for moving creatures that way.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. जिसके अंदर organ हो basically. So plants that way they have that production of मतलब photosynthesis जो होता है chlorophyll वगैरह का, but that happens, I mean, that's like, you know, the circulatory system of the plant, but organism word, I'm not sure. I don't think that the word organism can be used for that. This is at least my understanding. हाँ, but now the important part, पहले भी था कि stone में, matter में कुछ है या नहीं है. In the protoplasm, etc. So protoplasm is like the one of the most elementary forms of life. I don't know कितने cells होते हैं उसमें. I don't remember my biology. This is all.
No, so can I add if I can help here?
Please. हाँ.
So amoeba, a single cell
It's a
animal.
single cell now.
Yeah, it's protoplasmic. It is
Acha.
filled with protoplasm. So in probably
Acha.
in amoeboid cells.
So protoplasm is that liquid which is there in the cell.
Yes, very much. Yes.
Yeah, correct.
So
But
I
anyway,
looked up at the dictionary while you are talking about organisms. It says plants are involved, an individual animal, plant, or a single cell life form. This is the British
organic structure. It says a living animal or plant.
Yeah, a living
That which
thing is an
acts as a
organism.
unified whole. Organic structure, that which has it. Then you can say, but you do not get the sense of organism unless you see something moving individually and acting individually. We don't sense that in plants, but good. I mean, if like, for example, they say that the service tree in Pondicherry, the one above the Samadhi,
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard, I've read also, I think in maybe some book of Shyam Kumari that there is a soul of a great rishi living on that tree. I've heard that. So could be. जो, for example, Matri Mandir wala tree, sorry, Auroville में जो है, the banyan tree. So it has a proper this thing because when an axe was left there, so the soul of the tree came to mother and told that, you know, I'm hurting. So mother immediately sent somebody to remove that. So yeah, it could be there. Okay, anyway, the point is the form of the psychic being, that is the section title here. So formed souls enter into only into formed organisms. And again, you know, जैसे वो बोले ना, enter into, so the sense that you get is, I mean, something more conscious. And I would say even indicating about human stage. You know, conscious choice made by a formed soul to enter into a formed organism. That way. उसके पहले, no, the thing is chosen by some other beings of the psychic world. Not
Yeah,
exactly.
but plants are also conscious, no, Anmol Bhai. Plants are very
Conscious,
much.
yes, but are they conscious in the way that human beings are conscious?
No, certainly not. No, certainly not.
Anyway, so in the protoplasm, etc., it is only the spark of the divine that is there. The difference that he's trying to make is between the spark and the form.
Correct.
Right.
So viruses, which are neither living being nor, virus is so that will also be a divine spark only.
Yeah, something very diffused and very kind of inactive, just there so that the thing can exist, because without that nothing can exist, but not more than that.
Yeah, because modern science till date has not been able to classify it as living or dead.
I know. In the protoplasm, etc., it is only the spark of the divine that is there, not the formed soul.
Anmol, by just clarity here.
Yes.
When they say when we hear formed souls enter only into formed organisms, so by formed souls, does that mean psychic being?
Yes. Formed souls means Soul, basically, it has taken a shape and a form after some evolution. उसका एक अपना individuality बन गया है.
Okay, so it is the psychic being.
Yes.
As a sentence, the next sentence is, it's only the spark of the divine that is there.
Exactly. Not the formed soul.
Soul.
Yeah.
So again, what does this mean? It means again
So
the divine is not the psychic being, right? It is just the
sorry, say again.
Spark of the divine. Is it psychic being or just the psychic that is there?
No. So the spark of the divine is the thing with which things begin in the evolution. Okay. And it is that spark which develops into a psychic being. So every psychic being will have that spark inside it. Okay. But every spark may not have developed and become a formed soul or a psychic being.
Right. Okay. Okay, that's clear. But when formed souls enter only into formed organisms, that means like human beings, or what does that mean?
That's what I mean. I would suppose that he's meaning human beings. Because before the human stage, the soul is not really formed in that way.
Okay.
It doesn't really have a very proper individuality and all. So what he's meaning is, it is formed.
Yeah.
It already has some kind of a conscious individuality that way.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Anybody else has anything to say, discuss, ask anything in this, or should I move to the next one? No? But this does make it clear the point. I mean, just before moving to the next one, okay, in everything without exception, like Dhaval Bhai had raised the question whether psychic being is there in the Chinese. What is the soul element basically in the Chinese? So everywhere, everything that is there on the earth, there is some kind of a minimum divine spark that is there. It is there in everything. Shri Aurobindo ne pehle likha tha, in all terrestrial living creatures, that spark is there. So, I mean, one of the realizations that is there in yoga is to be able to see this divinity which is there behind everything. That is one of the aims of yoga, to be able to see the divine behind everything. Okay, just to reiterate this point, nothing can exist without the presence of the divine. Only that presence becomes, you could say, actively active when it is a formed soul, with a conscious individuality, like that. Next. As there is in us a mind. Okay. As there is in us. Somebody saying something?
Anmol bhai, sorry, I was just saying one more thing. Last time you mentioned Ahilya, right? As a Puranic story. So there we talked about stone. Stone will also have a spark of the divine, right?
Yes.
That is what.
Yes.
So even not only just the living terrestrial creatures, but even the. But again, in that sense, right? Even the non-living.
It is just something very elementary.
Correct, very elementary. Yes, but not a fully developed psychic
Not
being.
at all.
Yeah.
Fully developed is there only in the human stage.
Only in the human stage. Okay.
Ahilya का जो example, I mean, जो मैंने mention किया था rather, I didn't cite it as an example. I said that is probably one of the indications in the Puranic literature that the evolution has come from the purely material stage, from the stone to the human being. That basically it on earth, on the terrestrial plane, it is pure matter which has so far been converted into a living, thinking, feeling, desiring, aspiring human being, etc.
Okay, so it's a synoptic symbol of evolution.
It could be taken as that.
Okay.
Anmol. Sorry.
Yes, Jiti?
Yeah. Anmol, I remember watching a documentary long back, there was some documentary about the universe and all these things, and then the last statement that was made was that if anybody asks you what you are or who you are, just say, I am a star.
Achha.
I remember that very clearly. So मेरे को लग रहा है there is somewhere ये जो आप बोल रहे हो अभी कुछ उसमें लिंकेज है.
Yeah, I mean,
अभी स्टोन की भी बात की, अभी धवल भाई ने जस्ट स्पोक अबाउट द स्टोन आल्सो.
yeah.
So I really liked that statement, कि just say I am a star. And there was a full logic behind the whole documentary, I don't remember now exactly what, but yes, I clearly remember this last statement or
But
whatever
अगर
you may.
I understand, but if you, मतलब if we try to understand it, I mean, in the holistic sense, so I mean, I don't know, like we are living on Earth, which is not a self-luminous planet. Okay, even जो
Hmm.
stars होते हैं, they are not self-luminous,
They are
most
not
of them.
self-luminous,
They are
yes.
getting their light from the sun, they reflect that, that's why they shine,
Hmm,
etc.
hmm.
And I mean, on this globe, which began not even as a globe, initially तो पता नहीं क्या था, all amorphous matter. Okay, right in the, we can't even imagine that stage of evolution. Absolute inconscient से evolution शुरू हुआ है, no even proper forms, nothing. Then when the material evolution happened, then basically, it took forms. These spherical planets got formed. Sphere also, if we remember our physics, sphere is the most stable form. Sphere के बारे में कहते हैं, it is the most stable form. Now that stable form did not come about just like that. There was a lot of evolution which happened for trillions of years perhaps.
Yeah,
Then that
yeah.
form came. No, wait. So वो तो केवल उसका planetary level है, pure material level. But I mean, just that Earth rotating on that axis, जिसमें कोई consciousness, there is a hidden consciousness, there is an Earth goddess. Usko, the Sanskrit word for that is Prithvi. That is the sacred name of the Earth goddess. But if you see it purely from, that point of view, something, it's just spinning in space without any real consciousness that way. Compared to that, even a tiny, crawling insect, it is superior to that thing which is just moving like that because it has a free will. It can move here, it can move there, etc. Then you go further, an animal has much more, and human being has much more. So if you see it in this sense, then you to say that I am only a star, it is to belittle, the human being that way. Human being has become so intelligent that he has even gone to another star called moon. उस दृष्टि से देखे तो moon भी तो एक star ही है. How do you define a star? It's a heavenly body.
I don't know. I would love to watch the documentary again. I think I'll
Yeah,
just find out where it is. Yeah.
हाँ, एक और जो हमने लाइन शियोंदो की जो पोएम थी एवोल्यूशन, उससे शेयर करी थी, द लास्ट टू लाइंस, ओ दाओ हु क्लाइम्स टू मैटर, ओ दाओ हु क्लाइम्स टू क्या था, माइंड फ्रॉम डल स्टोन. सो देयर ही सेज दैट कि फ्रॉम दैट लेवल ऑफ डल स्टोन द एवोल्यूशन हैज रीच्ड द लेवल ऑफ माइंड. फेस नाउ द मिरेकल समिट्स स्टिल अनवन. दोज मिरेकल समिट्स आर द spiritual consciousness summits basically, right? So yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Anmol.
No, welcome. As there is in us a mind which one does not see in form, we see our mind in a form? We don't, right? But is aware of. We are too aware of this constant buzzing in our heads, right? What we call our mind. So, yeah. And as there is at the same time a mental being which one can see in form. So, by mental being, he is meaning the Manomaya Purusha. That is the Sanskrit equivalent for mental being, which one can see in form. So, I mean, I don't know how, but maybe these aura readers, when they see some kind of a figure around you, the Sukshma Sharira jo hota hai, which is formed of the chakras and all. So that is called the Manomaya Kosha in the yogic vocabulary. So maybe that outline which some psychic people, some aura readers can see, maybe it is that, which is the mental being. I don't know exactly because I have not seen, so I can't say. But he's giving this as an example, as there is in us a mind which one does not see in form, right? We just are aware of it as a series of thoughts or whatever form it is in, but is aware of, and as there is at the same time a mental being which one can see in form. So, one second. So there is a soul and a psychic being. The soul is the same always. The psychic being is what it develops in the evolution. Yeah. This we know, the soul is the same always, that which never changes, that psychic entity, etc. And the soul, the psychic being, is what it develops in the evolution. But the previous part of this letter, the thing to be understood here is everything has a form. It can have a form. He says at the same time a mental being which one can see in form. So we are all having a mental being. We have not seen it. We can't see the mental being just as we see our physical being in the mirror. But somebody who has that vision can see it, right?
So
So,
Anmol bhai, a question.
हाँ,
गीता में अंगुष्ठ मात्र या
गीता
वो
में
भी
नहीं
का
है, गीता में नहीं
सॉरी
है,
तो उपनिषद में अपने
कठोपनिषद में है.
कठोपनिषद. So psychic
That is
being,
not the same thing. That is not the same thing.
that is not the same thing.
No,
Okay.
no. I have even, you did not read it probably. I had pasted the quotation from Synthesis of Yoga, where he explains the meaning of that Angushta Matra Purusha. He says that just as the, remember, try to remember, just as the mass of the thumb is there in proportion to the mass of the body. So, like if your body is 70 kg and the thumb is like 10 grams or whatever, okay, 20 grams. In the same proportion is the psychic being able to have the influence in the consciousness of an ordinary person. That is what Angushta Matra means.
Okay. Okay.
That is what he says in the Synthesis of Yoga.
अच्छा अच्छा.
Remember that?
No,
याद है?
honestly, नहीं याद आ रहा है. But yeah, I think I should go
अच्छा,
back and
anyway,
check
हाँ
it.
हाँ हाँ
हाँ.
हाँ. यहाँ पे वो और बड़ी चीजें कर रहे हैं. If we be a little patient and read through these 4 letters, and we can again go
Sure,
back to this section and reiterate over it, we go as it is very slowly and thoroughly.
sure,
तो
sure.
कुछ ना कुछ आएगा, बट हम आगे ही नहीं बढ़ेंगे क्योंकि sometimes the first letter cannot be understood till you read even the last letter.
True, true,
तो
true,
पूरा एक
true.
section है, right? So let's
Sure,
first
sure.
go through it once.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
So what he's simply saying is very interesting.
Yeah.
बिकॉज आई एम नॉट श्योर, मतलब अगर इस ग्रुप में कोई है जिसने अपने मेंटल बीइंग को या एक साइकिक बीइंग को अपने फॉर्म में देखा है, राइट? वी फील इट व्हेन वी फील सम प्योर डिवोशन, व्हेन वी have, let's say, some bhava for the divine, etc. That time we can feel our soul, our antaratma, that way, our psychic being, mental being we are feeling, but we have not seen it. And I mean, most of us may not even know this कि ऐसा कुछ होता है, right? So it's something new which is telling us that way. Okay, there is at the same time a mental being which one can see in form. So the mental being can be seen in a form. So similarly, there is a soul and a psychic being, right? So you could say the soul is the unformed psychic being. When the soul takes on a form, it becomes a psychic being. That we already know from our previous readings. And another important point here, okay, everything can take a certain form. Form is something, form is a, क्या कहना चाहिए? It is a possibility in the divine infinite consciousness, and at any given moment, any of these planes of consciousness, they can take a certain form. ठीक है, जैसे फिजिकल का ये वाला फॉर्म है. There are forms in all the worlds, for example, like the subtle physical worlds. There the forms are more flexible, they are not so rigid, and the higher we go, the rigidity of the form decreases more and more. Only in this plane, material plane, the form is very rigid, right? So for example, मतलब जो gods होते हैं, they can appear in any form because essentially they are free from any limits. Form in a sense means a limit, isn't it? Form means a limit. Form के अगर roots में जाएंगे, I've never checked the roots of the word form. I'm just checking right now. 1 second.
Yeah, you are right. It means a
Shape.
limitation. Form means a
Shape.
limitation.
हाँ हाँ, shape basically वही आकृति.
हाँ.
एक और वर्ड होता है उसका, अगर आप रूट्स में जाएं तो टर्म वगैरह से आता है, तो इट मींस अंत, शांत, दैट विच इज हैविंग एन एंड. इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ
हाँ.
सिनोनिम फॉर फॉर्म. या एनीवे, सो फॉर्म इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी फॉर ऑल दीज प्लेन्स ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस. और वो some kind of a form they can take. And as I said, कि इस plane पे the form is fixed and sort of concretized, and even in this plane the form changes, right? Every day, I mean, if you see your photo 10 years ago, it's not the same as what it is today, like that. So
Yeah.
the form keeps evolving or changing according to
So,
the thing.
so Anmol, by one observation I would like to then note here.
Yeah,
Moment the word form comes, we talk about matter.
yeah,
The earthly form is a gross matter.
yeah,
But if you talked about higher forms, which are, that means there is some sukshma matter
yeah. So
also, subtle
that is
matter.
what I wanted to say to complete the thing.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. So like these 7 planes of existence are there. Okay. We are reading, trying to follow Sri Aurobindo, and Sri Aurobindo clearly says that his teaching comes from that of the Vedic seers, right? And the Vedic seers always spoke of these 7 levels. Okay. Sat, Chit, which Sri Aurobindo clarifies, it is not just Chit, it is Chit Shakti. Okay. So Sat, Chit Shakti, Ananda, uh, Mahas, as it is called in the Gita, Mahad, Supermind जिसको Sri Aurobindo कहते हैं, Manas, Prana and Annam. We have earlier said कि जो higher 4 हैं, they are part of the higher hemisphere, lower 3 are part of the lower hemisphere. But the thing to be understood is all these 7 are there in all these 7. So when we say Sat, it does not mean it is only Sat. It has Chit Shakti, it has Ananda, it has Supermind, it has mind, it has vital, it has physical, right? And the same for all the others. So if we say vital, we don't mean that it is only vital. It is having a physical also. And it is that physical part of the vital which will give it that form, which will be then called a vital form. Like that. Is that clear?
Can you
मैं
repeat
थोड़ा सा
that
divert
last
कर रहा हूं
sentence?
because sorry,
Oh, last physical part of the vital will give the. Can you repeat that
मतलब
sentence? Sorry.
हर एक plane of consciousness जो है,
Huh.
it is not separated. What I'm trying to basically say is, see, when
All
we
7 lokas are within us. That means
yes. Not only that, they are within each other also.
they are within each other. Okay.
Yes. And basically what I'm trying to say, okay, there is no separation. See, we are mental beings right now. And how the mind understands things? By analyzing, by dissecting. 1, 2, ऐसे करके ना. But
Correct.
yeah, that is the limitation of the human process of understanding. The truth is one.
Yeah,
सबसे बड़ी बात जो
understood.
याद रखनी है when we are studying अध्यात्म, वही जो योगेश जी always he says in the sessions, oneness. So the truth is one. कहीं पर भी कोई division नहीं है. It's all one. If you at all you want to say, it is like a gradient, but it is not like cut up.
Exactly.
वो
Yeah.
steps नहीं है.
नहीं, those are not layers.
हाँ,
Distinct
they are,
layers नहीं है. It's a
हाँ,
continuous
It's a
continuum. Is
continuum.
a correct. It's a
So what I
continuum.
meant was कि जब मैंने बोला कि जैसे vital worlds हैं, ठीक है? So the predominant consciousness in those planes is the vital consciousness, okay? With all that is there in the vital. But वो vital में ऐसा नहीं है कि they are not having any आकृति or form. It is there. And that आकृति is coming from the physical part of the vital plane.
अच्छा. Got
Similarly,
it.
those beings, they will have a certain kind of mind. They will also be experiencing a certain kind of pleasure, etc. They will be having some kind of Shakti. So all the planes are there in all the planes. This is what I'm trying to say.
Beautiful. Okay, so if I were to take another example, that means in the people in the mental world also will have all the
Exactly.
7 planes,
Exactly.
but the mental plane is predominant. That's all it is.
And this is important to understand why, because see again, we have to kind of start from where we are and what are the circumstances in the world right now. It's in that sense, in some senses, I should say, a very, very materialistic and whatever physical phase and everything. So it is like if Shiva is there, how can he take a form? Because we think that he is in some higher plane, then how can he? Why not? Why not? If he is there in the overmind, does it mean that he is only over mental, that he cannot assume a physical? या ओवरमाइंड के अंदर फिजिकल में मैनिफेस्ट करने की पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं है? नॉट एट ऑल. ऑन द कॉन्ट्ररी, बिकॉज ही इज इन सच ए हाई प्लेन, therefore he can appear in whatever form it is necessary for him to appear in.
Beautiful.
To Shankaracharya, he appeared in the form of a Chandal in Banaras when we had to teach him a lesson.
So that means Shiva, or any, for that matter of fact, any overmind entity can take any other form in the lower entities.
Exactly, why not?
And
like mother ka jo example hai. So mother was embodying the supramental consciousness, in her consciousness. But in order to misguide Hitler, she took on the form of a vital being.
Correct. Right. Asura, she says, I have taken the form of the.
Basically, what is interesting, what is exciting for us as evolving beings, कि why should you aim for a higher and higher consciousness? Because you have greater and greater freedom. You can have any kind of form you desire. And in the integral yoga, jo uska completeness hai, the perfection of the integral yoga, when you reach the supramental consciousness, then you have total freedom and perfection in your form on earth. You can modify that form as long as you want. You can continue that form as long as you want. You can change that form and go into totally another form. All that complete omnipotence and mastery and perfection will be there even on the physical plane. But obviously, that is not the immediate aim. It's a very, very late wala aim. First thing is the discovery of the psychic being, as Sri Aurobindo says constantly. But
Beautiful. This
wait.
is wonderfully explained,
I mean,
Anmol. I
it's
think
just to बहुत ज्यादा खिंचता है. It's already half an hour, but
हाँ.
जब तक पूरी बात नहीं करें तब तक I mean, at least मुझे तो
नहीं
मजा
नहीं,
नहीं आता.
ये कहाँ लिखा हुआ है? यही जो आपने अभी जो बोला, ये सब
Yeah.
श्री अरबिंदो
Yeah,
ने
it's all there in the supramental manifestation on earth. जो last 8 articles हैं Sri Aurobindo के. If you
हाँ.
read the divine body, I think that is the name of the essay. You can read it there.
अच्छा,
जो
ओके.
they are there in volume 13. Essays in philosophy and yoga.
हाँ.
It's published as a separate booklet also. It is called the supramental manifestation upon earth. These are his last 8 writings. Some people also say that they can be regarded as an addendum to the life divine. Like
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
I see.
Yeah,
I
like
see.
that.
Okay, okay. That helps a lot. Thank you. Thank you so
So,
much. Yeah.
shall we move forward?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The soul is not limited by any form. But the psychic being puts out a form for its expression. Just as the mental, vital, and subtle physical purushas do. That is to say, one can see or another person can see one's psychic being in such and such a form. For this, I have taken an example from the agenda. It is there on the next tab in my screen. Mother says that she saw this person's psychic being. I will show that. First, I will just read through this letter. 1 second. The soul is not limited by any form, but the psychic being puts out a form for its expression. Just as the mental, vital, and subtle physical purushas do. So, psychic being is a Chaitya Purusha. That is to say, one can see or another person can see one psychic being in such and such a form. But this seeing is of two kinds. There is the standing characteristic form, there is the standing characteristic form taken by this being in this life. So all of us who are psychic beings, there is a characteristic form which our psychic being has or has taken in
What
this
do you
life.
mean by characteristic form?
Characteristic mane what it stands for. What are the qualities, what are the characteristics, etc., sorry, which are manifesting through me. That is what it means. And every person being unique, they will have their own unique characteristics.
Acha, in that sense. Okay.
That
got
sense.
it.
Right? There is a standing characteristic form taken by this psychic being in this life, and there are symbolic forms. ठीक है, symbolic form. अगर आप एक एंगल से देखें तो this body, this also can be taken as the symbolic form of the psychic being which is dwelling within this body, isn't it? Our physical body is the symbolic form of our psychic being. Very, very simple. See, if you happen to meet the person's face tells what his soul is like, isn't it? Especially the eyes. If
Yeah.
somebody is very cruel, like shouldn't say such things, but I mean, what is his name, यार? वो जो है ना बड़ा businessman अमेरिका का, the Jewish fellow. He looks like very, very this thing. I'm forgetting his name. Quite old, 90 plus. I'm forgetting his name. If you look at his face, I mean, there's something like कितना ज्यादा उसके अंदर वाइटल का वो एलिमेंट घुस गया है. जॉर्ज सोरोस. या इफ यू सी इस फोटो, वो दिखता है. सो व्हाट डज इट मीन कि वो जो बॉडी के अंदर भी वो साइकिक बीइंग का कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स वो दिखाई दे रहा है कि वो कितना सप्रेस्ड है या वो कितना इवॉल्व है या कितना मतलब ऑब्स्ट्रक्ट हो रहा है इन इट्स मूवमेंट. एनीवे, बोलना नहीं चाहिए था, बट डजंट मैटर एनीवे. But this seeing is of two kinds. There is the standing characteristic form taken by this being in this life, and there are symbolic forms, such as when one sees the psychic as a newborn child in the lap of the mother. From the point of view of yoga, this is something which is very important, this phrase. So I will try to highlight this and even share what I can from whatever experience I've had in my this thing, yogic, whatever, if the sadhak in question really saw his psychic in the form of a woman, it can only have been a constructed appearance expressing some quality or attitude of the psychic being. So we'll go one by one. In each of these three, I feel there is something to elaborate, etc. First, we'll come to this first sentence. One can see, or another person can see one psychic being in such and such a form. Okay? I'm just highlighting the sentence. Ye wala. Okay. Now, I'm just changing the tab on my screen. Is the change visible to people?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is from the Mother's Agenda, July 1, 1970, right? Here, Mother is talking about an American disciple by the name of Rijuta. यहाँ पे R लिखा है. They don't give the full name there. Herein she speaks about the form of about the form of the psychic being of this disciple. ये मुझे एक ही example मिला था. So, this is the only one I've been able to share basically. I'm just reading it. I'll not probably go in very detail in this. I had an experience which I found interesting. Somebody else would like to read this example? 1 minute. कहाँ तक पढ़ना है? Till here. Another time, maybe I'll see better. Okay. I mean, I'll just read this in the flow. Doesn't matter. I had an experience which I found interesting because it was the first time. She's saying this on July 1, 1970. It was yesterday or the day before, I forget. R was there just in front of me, kneeling, and I saw her psychic being towering above by this much. Gesture about 8 inches. So that's 2/3 of a foot. Gesture about 8 inches taller. It's the first time. Her physical being was short and the psychic being was tall, like this. And it was a sexless being, neither man nor woman. So I said to myself, it may be always that way, I don't know. But at that time, I noticed it very clearly. I said to myself, but the psychic being is the one that will materialize and become the supramental being. अभी इसमें हम नहीं जाएंगे because then the discussion will, go too much into बहुत आगे की चीज में चला जाएगा. I saw it. It was like that. There were distinctive features, but not very pronounced. And it was clearly a being that was neither male nor female, because psychic being also sometimes it can change its sex. Sri Aurobindo says usually it does not, but it can change if necessary. Like जैसे वो शिखंडी का जो केस था. So it was a female in a previous life. Which was it? Amba, Ambika, Ambalika, one of those three. And then it became a male prince born to Drupad, right? So uska to in fact letter में भी Shri Aurobindo ने example दिया है. Doesn't matter. Neither male nor female, that had features of both combined, and it was taller than her. It exceeded her on every side by about this much. Gesture exceeding beyond the physical being by about 8 inches. She was here and it was like this. Its color was, she is even describing the color of that psychic being which Mother saw. Its color was this color that if it became very material would be, this color that if it became very material, वो एक मदर को अलग एक थोड़ा सा सटल लेवल पे दर्शन हो रहा है. But saying if it became very material would be Auroville's color, orange. You could even say that way, the sannyasi's color jo hota hai, orange. It was softer as if behind a veil. It wasn't absolutely precise, but it was this color. And there was hair, but it was something else. Karke. Right? So she saw this. She saw the form of the psychic being of this particular disciple. Right? So I'll share the link to this on the chat. Yeah, I'll do it later on. We can read this later. This is just to give an example. Next sentence. But this seeing is of two kinds. There is the standing characteristic form taken by this being in this life, blah, blah. And there are symbolic forms. Yeah. Such as when one sees the psychic as a newborn child in the lap of the mother. So yeah, this is something which all of us can experience in our yogic journey. Those who are following Sri Aurobindo's yoga are open to him and, are under his influence, under the influence of his Shakti, etc. So what he's referring to here is basically that when you open to the mother, there is a kind of new birth of your consciousness which happens. It happens to everybody. Sooner or later, that depends on how intense you are or sincere you are, but it happens to everybody. उसको बोलते हैं कि before the amrit is poured, so the vessel has to be emptied. So that kind of all the old things which you were having, formations, ideas, जो कुछ भी है वो सारा खाली होता है, and it feels like an absolute new birth because you feel as if your slate is completely blank. This happens because of mother's force, her Shakti. It happens, right? And you feel totally like a newborn child. How to put it more concretely because थोड़ा सा personal हो जाता है, but yeah, one sees the psychic as a newborn child in the lap of the mother. When one is going through that process, one can see a vision in which one sees oneself as a child, right? So, and that seeing oneself as a child is basically that child is the symbolic form of the psychic being reborn because of being in the consciousness of the mother. What he means by in the lap of the mother is basically her consciousness, her Shakti, when you are open to it and under its influence. One of the examples from the Aurobindonian literature for this, I mean, I'm venturing to say this, I'm not sure how accurate it is, like mother herself, some people here might be knowing it. So she met Sri Aurobindo at the age of 36 in material form. She was meeting him since childhood, but she did not know who he was, and somehow she was calling him Krishna. That is what she has said in her own statements, right? From the age of 11, 12, etc., she was meeting many spiritual people in her sleep. And one of those beings with whom she says a very clear relation developed, that being she was calling Krishna and even prostrating before him in the Indian way. Much later, when she met Sri Aurobindo, she recognized it is Sri Aurobindo. And even Sri Aurobindo has confirmed the same thing, that it was himself. So, I mean, to understand these things, it's not possible. I mean, through mind, basically. You can understand, but through your psychic being only. Anyway, but what I was referring is to the physical event in mother's life. So she was 36 when she met him, and to present it in a very external sort of way, she was a very dynamic woman, okay? She was having a group of her own in France, 1912 May. People were coming and they were studying together and this and that, and she was active in the, the organization of the occultist thing of Yonka. So she was very dynamic, having so many ideas how the world can be spiritualized, this, that, very, very developed mental ideas, constructions, पूरा plan बनाया हुआ है कैसे क्या करना है, very intelligent woman, I must say. If you read her works, it's not just Sri Aurobindo who is intellectually so stimulating, or you find it. Mother also, when you read, oh my God, I mean, you find her so intelligent. At least I find, right? So point is, when she sat next to him in her, I think, second meeting, so half an hour she sat, she was not saying anything. She was sitting there. Her husband was sitting in front of Sri Aurobindo. She was sitting on the side, and they were having a conversation. Maybe half an hour or so like this it was. But she became open because she recognized who he was. In the first meeting, she recognized who he was, right? So inwardly, she had completely surrendered. That is the key. Total surrender is the key, right? And she said all that. It was just completely blanked off. जो भी उन्होंने सोच के रखा था, ऐसे करना है, ये करना है, blah, 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 everything gone. Her mind became totally silent. So, this is and she says, I was like a newborn child. Again, I'm not sure how accurate my example is for this study which we are doing right now, but it is certainly a very motivating, and practically, I should add, wherever Sri Aurobindo's physical presence is there, okay, either in Delhi ashram, those who are in Delhi, or in Hyderabad, people are there, Pondicherry, most strong is in Pondicherry because this is the, sort of the headquarters that way. The presence has the power. If you are just open to it without any, just be simple, just be open to it. The same thing can happen to you. It can silence your mind forever. Sri Aurobindo actually used to do it. He did it to one person earlier, but वो ले नहीं पाया, so then he stopped doing it. Right? But anyway, that's an example from when he was. Right now, today, It can happen even you don't need to go to a samadhi, just think of him. You read his books and read it with a silent and open mind. आपका mind बिल्कुल blank होने लगेगा. It's just incredible. Of course, I mean, the first time you go to a place where his physical presence is there, wherever his relics are there, कोई भी जगह हो, I've been to 4-5 places, it's just unbelievable. इतना strong energy field होता है, it can give you that kind of a new birth, right?
You very true. It silences you. Externally भी silence कर देता है, mind भी silent अपने आप ही हो जाता है. There's no
And
effort.
again, I'm repeating that which mother experienced, all of us can experience that. If we are transparent enough, and if we are not pretentiousness वगैरह होती है, you thinking you're very clever, this that, वो भी ठीक है, obviously होगा ही, natural है. But when we go to him, when we read him, just be like a child एकदम, and be ready to receive what he's giving. Just let him pour inside. He pours inside. Yeah. So the same experience can happen to us also. I'll just, since I mentioned it, personal वगैरह भी मैंने किया था, and I mean, nobody likes things being, done in a half-hearted way. So I'll just share what I have experienced personally of this. Maybe we can just today do this much only, but I'm just being very frank. There's no, इसमें कोई boasting, just I'm sharing nothing. Okay. Unfortunately, I can see nobody's faces, so it's like I'm talking to a blank screen. That's all right. So when I first time got mother's voice, I mean, I had gotten it earlier, but I was not using it, right? 15th August 2008, I started listening to mother's Savitri readings, merely playing that in my room. And once I started, I could not stop because the psychic being वो just latch हो गया उसके साथ like this. It just wouldn't let me stop it. Psychic being or inner being, whatever, I don't know, but the moment I would try to stop it, it was like, my lifeline was stopping. It was like that. And the effect of that, I can't say exactly how much period, 15 days, 20 days, whatever, एकदम blank हो गया था. एकदम blank. I was 26 at that time almost. So, and you feel as if, you're actually looking at the world like you used to look at it when you were 3 years old, 4 years old. I'm not joking. I have experienced this. Of course, it's mother's power. मेरा उसमें कुछ नहीं है. It's mother's power. It can happen to anybody. Just listen to her voice. Itni amazing recordings mother ki voice mein hai. Savitri is there, the mother is there, so many messages. Savitri is of course the most powerful. So because of that, wherever I stay, I just play Mother Savitri readings in my room. It's very, very, very powerful. Very powerful. Right? More than this, I will not say. Something within me is also stopping me. Right? Next. If the sadhak in question really saw his psychic in the form of a woman, it can only have been a constructed appearance expressing some quality or attitude of the psychic. Yeah, I mean, like गीता में भी आता है in the 10th chapter, I think, these are the feminine qualities ऐसे करके. धृति, I'm just looking for the verse actually. नारी नाम स्मृति मेधा धृति क्षमा. That is how the verse ends. Anybody remembers? गीता के 10th chapter के beginning में है. Nari Nam, that is the word over there. One second. Gayatri Chandasamaham. Yeah. This is the one. 10.34. Sorry for the delay. Kirtish Shrirvakchanari Nam Smritir Medha Dhritih Kshama. So this is translated as, among the feminine qualities, I am Kirtihi, Shrihi, glory, Vak, speech, Smriti, memory, Medha, अंडरस्टैंडिंग पावर, धृति ही परसिवियरेंस, एंड क्षमा. ये यहाँ पे कुछ जो मेंशन्ड है, आई मीन दिस इज द, आई जस्ट रीड द एग्जैक्ट ट्रांसलेशन बाय श्री अरबिंदो. वन सेकंड. 10.34. Yeah. Among feminine qualities, I am glory. This Sri Bhagavan is speaking in the Vibhuti Yoga chapter, where he's telling what he is inside all that is there around us, right? Among feminine qualities, I am glory and beauty and speech and memory and intelligence and steadfastness and forgiveness, etc. So basically, these are all psychic qualities that way. So the sadhak in question really saw his psychic in the form of a woman. Devotion, let's say, surrender. That capacity is more natural in women than in men that way. It can only be in a constructed appearance expressing some quality or attitude of the psychic. Right?
So, Anmol bhai, would psychic then generally represent feminine
No,
energy in
no,
the...
no, 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 no,
No,
no,
no.
no,
Okay.
nothing like that. Bhakti is there less in males or what? Not like that.
नहीं नहीं हाँ नहीं 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 not in that sense the feminine energy in the human being
ऐसा कुछ
नहीं
नहीं.
ना नहीं okay
See, again, वही. There should not be this division that way.
हाँ correct.
Psychic being, okay, उसको चैत्य पुरुषा बोल दिया, तो does पुरुषा mean that it is only masculine?
No not in
This is
that
all
sense right
old philosophy. हाँ, हाँ. अच्छा, not in that sense. Okay.
the quality wise I was referring to.
I'm thinking, I mean, if somebody's psychic being is active, okay, and if he's open to truth and beauty and goodness, if you are open to truth, knowledge will come, everything will come like that. So, I mean, you cannot segregate like that. This is what I feel.
No
It's just,
quality wise just don't forget छोड़ो ना इसको
है ना?
ऐसे agree
हाँ,
हाँ
हाँ,
हाँ हाँ
exactly. And as much as possible, I mean, we should try to have a synthesis of knowledge.
yeah no this is more of a saintly characteristics
Yeah.
let's put it that way rather
तो
than
जो मैंने वर्ड्स पढ़ा है, इट इज सर्टेनली नॉट इनअप्रोप्रिएट उसके लिए कि these are called as the feminine qualities. ये सारी की सारी श्री भगवान ही बोल रहे हैं. इट इज द डिवाइन, द कृष्णा विद इन यू, who becomes the psychic in us. So these are some of the feminine qualities which are expressed by the psychic. Right? 8:59. We had started at around 8, 6 or 7. Anybody else has anything to say before I read the next one? Last one? Sorry, it's just one page, but it went into too much detail. But
no I think it was necessary अनमोल
yeah.
भाई ये सब समझना
And
जरूरी
seriously,
है
जो अभी भी highlighted है screen पे, the psychic as a newborn child in the lap of the mother. This is a fundamental experience of yoga, in any yoga actually. You become like that child, totally blank slate. जो कोरा कागज है उसी के ऊपर भगवान फिर अपना वो लिख सकते हैं जो लिखना चाहते हैं. So if one is too full of one's ideas and this and that, तो नहीं. Of course, if the individuality is formed, if the mental being is developed, so surrender will be more difficult, right? But once the heart is attracted, once the divine has caught hold of your heart, तो फिर उसको कोई रोक नहीं सकता. And then the great mind which you have developed and all, it will be used as a wonderful instrument by the divine, right? But this is a necessary thing. Becoming like a totally newborn child in the lap of the mother. I'm sure some other people in this group have had this kind of experience, that when they came into contact with Sri Aurobindo and Mother's energy for the first time, what a revelation and revolution at the same time which happened in their consciousness. कितनी बड़ी चीज होती है, and what impact it has on you, right? We could have shared that also. अभी भी कर सकते हैं. I actually just finished somebody saying something.
No, one thing I can tell you is that I think we all are children of the mother in some sense.
Exactly.
वो हमको वो feel होता ही है हर बार.
Exactly.
And the newness in our daily life,
yes,
which comes, I think that newness I'm just telling you
नित्य
at a
नूतन
very
जिसको बोलते हैं, ever new.
at a very surface level, at a very outward level, I'm telling you this कि हर एक time नया ideas अपने आप they just come to you. You don't have to strive for it. You just live in the newness of life each time, each day. That feeling.
This is what is called Nit Nutan. That which is ever the same, Nitya, constant, but Nutan also, which is new. So there is no such thing as boredom then. So this is ever new. When that touch with the divine consciousness is there, then one lives in this, ever newness. Never there is any boredom. One is wonderstruck. Everything is full of wonder. And, new
Correct.
things, new ideas, new further progress, वो सब होने लगती है, right? Very true.
Mother, I remember that statement. Remain young, never stop striving towards
Beautiful,
perfection.
beautiful. Remain young, never stop striving towards perfection. So, ठीक है, I'll just finish the next one. Yes, the psychic being has a form, okay, but that does not appear from the photo of a person. Okay. For the psychic has not always or usually a form closely resembling that of the physical body. Like mother ने भी उसमें कहा कि the disciple was a female disciple, but the form was not that of either even a man or a woman. It was more. The link is there. People can read it on their own later on. I will share the link. Psychic has not always or usually a form closely resembling that of the physical body. It is sometimes even quite different. Oh. Somebody psychic being may be seen in the form of a flame of aspiration, which is rising very high. Maybe that is a symbolic also. Again, I don't know. I can't say. I have never seen anybody psychic beings form. So if anybody has seen, they are welcome to share their experience here. The psychic has not always or usually a form closely resembling that of the physical body. It is sometimes even quite different. Okay. Okay. Yeah, basically the physical body and the psychic being, their form may not be similar. One could have, let's say, I'm just saying, give it an example. Ashtavakra, he had a very distorted sort of physical body. That is why he's called Ashtavakra, distorted at 8 places. But a psychic being would be very beautiful. Its shape and everything, color and aura, everything would be very beautiful. This is a very important psychological point. When looking at the photo with yogic vision, what is seen is not a form. When looking at the photo, like he's saying here, because many times people used to send their photos to Mother and Sri Aurobindo, either asking for something, illness वगैरह के time में भी help के लिए, but mostly for admission to the ashram, whether I'm ready to come and join the ashram for yoga. So like that. So when, I mean, other general cases also may be there. When looking at the photo with yogic vision, what is seen is not a form, okay, with the yogic vision, but something of the consciousness that either is expressed in the body or comes through somehow. One perceives or feels it there through the photo. Okay. But इसमें जो main था, the psychic has not always or usually a form closely resembling that of the physical body. It is sometimes even quite different. But the psychic being has a form. Somebody who has the capacity, or if the grace is granted, then the form can be seen.
So, Anmol, when mother saw the psychic form of that lady,
Yeah.
Rujuta,
Yeah.
which was bigger than her, so that means
Yeah.
it was so developed
Yes.
that it had become bigger than her
Yes.
physical body
Yes.
also.
It was looking bigger than her physical body also. Correct.
Okay, so if her was so developed, then Mother and Sri Aurobindo's must be in kilometers.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I mean, these are things which I'm not having so clear knowledge about, but what Sarita mentioned, I'm reminded, what I'm reminded of is that when mother was coming from Japan in 1920, and Japan में था या first visit में था, Japan only, I think. And she entered the ocean, it was 20 nautical miles. कितना 20 nautical miles था, कितना था?
25 nautical miles outside Pondicherry, she
10
could feel.
nautical miles.
So, Archana ji? 10
I think
nautical
she said
miles.
10 nautical miles.
10
She could
nautical
feel the
miles away from
presence of Sri
Pondi.
Aurobindo.
Suddenly, she saw the atmosphere changing. It became very, luminous and light and all that. So she knew that she had entered the aura of Sri Aurobindo.
Okay.
So it surprised her that way. How much is a nautical mile? I don't know actually. Nautical mile to kilometer. 1 nautical mile is 1.852 kilometers. So at a distance of 18.5 kilometers. Maybe that was the size of his psychic being. I don't know. I actually don't know.
They have what is called Kirlian photography for aura,
Uh, yeah.
but that is different, no?
Kirlian photo, it's for your aura. So usme
Aura will be different from psychic being. No, that is the teja that normally you see behind the
yeah.
Siddha Purusha in the photographs, like Shri Krishna or any other.
Yeah.
They put a sun around, no?
Yeah. Acha, you mean that? Okay, definitely, yeah.
No, but we all have a aura, a small one, but
Yes.
yes, we all have an aura.
Yeah, there is a, I don't know, Kirlian photography measures your aura. Actually,
Yes,
I
and it
have never
also
seen. Uh-huh.
also shows the colors, the color of your aura, so that by that one can know what your level of consciousness is.
Yeah.
That means, Anmol bhai, this is all Sukshmatam matter. Sukshmatam. Sat is that Sukshmatam matter.
Sat is
Because
Sukshmatam.
because anything that can take form will be subtle matter then in such a high level of existence.
Hmm. Yeah. Hmm.
So the psychic being can be inside the body and it can be outside the body. Actually, that note has
Yeah,
intrigued
so
me.
see the psychic being, okay. Like when you say inside the body,
Yeah.
okay. So if you cut open your body, you're not going to find a psychic being.
No, but it's deep within us, no? Inside the
In which
cave.
body? तो उसीलिए in the old yogic vocabulary they say there is the स्थूल शरीर सूक्ष्म शरीर कारण शरीर एक तो ये
Hmm.
कैटेगराइजेशन है ठीक है एक और है देयर इज अ ब्यूटीफुल श्लोका फ्रॉम द मुंडक उपनिषद अंतः शरीरे का मतलब इन द इनर बॉडी अंतः शरीर मतलब इनर बॉडी अंतः शरीरे मतलब इन द इनर बॉडी ओके तो अंतः शरीरे ज्योतिर्मयो ही शुभ्रो उस अंतः शरीर के अंदर वो ज्योतिर्मय है और वो शुभ्र है वो रेडियंट है राइट यम पश्यन्ति यतयः क्षीण दोषा दोज हु सी इट उनके सारे दोष जो हैं वो क्षीण हो जाते हैं ऑफ दो स्ट्राइविंग वंस यतयन लाइक दैट सो इट इज देयर उसका जहां तक लोकेशन वगैरह की बात है और कहां की बात है वो वी रेड अर्लियर Sri Aurobindo says it is deep in the heart region. So the psychic being is deep in the heart region, but that heart is the spiritual heart. That is another dimension of consciousness. I had shared one interview of Vasanti Di where she narrated that in the presence of Raman Maharshi, 11 years of age, that heart region opened and she was thrown inside that. Right? So when we go in our heart, basically, तो वहां पे वो साइकिक बीइंग है राइट वी कैन डिस्कवर इट देयर बट देन अगेन वो एक तरीका है उसको डिस्कवर करने का लाइक इवन हियर व्हेन श्री अरबिंदो हैज टोल्ड अबाउट psychic beings form he has given both things he has said you can see the actual characteristic form of the psychic being because of whatever characteristic it is having you can see it in a symbolic form also so for example if you see in your meditation or your dream or vision or something you see yourself in the form of a child in the lap of the mother you are having a darshan of your psychic being
Yeah.
that is also very significant from the point of view of inner progress. Similarly, you can go within yourself, deep inside your consciousness, where you're in the total silent, ekdam jo space hai, ekdam quiet sanctuary. Its characteristic is silence, deep, profound silence. That is its characteristic. That is why, that is the difference between psychic bhakti and vital bhakti also. Vital bhakti is effervescent. ये करना है वो करना है ऐसे करके साइकिक भक्ति इज वेरी क्वाइट वेरी डीप वेरी साइलेंट फुल ऑफ दैट सरेंडर टोटल लाइक दैट है ना that is another way you can experience that is the truest way actually that is what everybody has to strive for right third जैसे वो बोल रहे हैं you can see the actual form अब वो जिसको दिखेगा जब दिखेगा तब की बात है so it's like that
But Anmol, when I try to do the meditation and sit in silence, those thoughts keep running simultaneously. So that is the tougher part of how to silence those.
I have sent one letter of Sri Aurobindo, 3 ways to silence the mind. It is there on the group. So
Okay,
there he gives 3 ways he gives there.
okay.
One is basically to observe the thoughts till they run down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Second is just to stay quiet and identify more and more with the witness, like that.
Mm-hmm.
And third and most powerful he says is ki don't allow the thoughts to enter, just throw them out. That is the most difficult. It requires maximum willpower and concentration, but that is the fastest. That is what Sri Aurobindo followed, and he reached the mental silence in one day. One day. Almost a miracle because he was an avatar. But anyway, so yeah. वो letter है, I'll share it again. It's very useful.
I can share a tip if you want to
Please go ahead.
Yes.
Now the
silence
session
your
is basically over. Now we're just sharing question.
Huh.
All are free
What
to say what they want. Yeah.
what I have observed within myself only I can talk. And that's why I can share
Mm,
this tip. Not I don't know whether it's applicable to you or anybody else. But morning when we get up, after first thing normally instead of picking up anything after having bath or even before,
mm.
just read some paragraph of Sri Aurobindo,
Okay.
essays on the divine, essays on the Gita, or whatever, even what we did
Mm,
today, even the
mm,
letters.
mm.
What happens is you will be drawn inwards and automatic silence starts within, what Sharmul Bhai was telling.
Okay.
Then you do the meditation. You will become empty automatically because this, when you just read, no, the words are
Mm,
so
mm,
deep and penetrating.
mm.
They go in the Chetana and they quieten it. At least I have observed that within myself, so I am sharing that.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
your whole day just goes very quietly within, in that sort of witness. It will tend to draw you within rather than being outwards. That's all I can say.
Okay. No, it's a very good suggestion, and I will definitely do it and see. Get up a little earlier and spend the time doing this. And when I get up, I normally start with the day with doing pranayam, but maybe I will do this first and then do the pranayam.
Just
Okay.
read something, whatever comes
Yeah.
into your hand from
Hmm.
Sri Aurobindo or the
Hmm.
mother,
Hmm.
it will just draw you inwards.
Okay.
You could
Thank you.
also utilize this visualization if you like. Ki what you are reading, what is written by Sri Aurobindo, is coming from the divine within your heart. Like the Gita is coming straight from the divine. Similarly, I mean, I have no doubt that whatever Sri Aurobindo has written has come straight from the divine consciousness, and that divine is within your heart. So this visualization or this idea might also help you to, utilize that text to go within.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
God believe. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Shall we close then with silence?
Yes, Anmol bhai.
Yes. Yes.